say Boundary Street.
Where you headed?
Is that a free? Oh my.
Okay, we'll go ahead and call our workshop to order. In compliance with the Freedom of Information Act, a notice of meetings and agendas were posted and furnished to all news media and persons requesting notification. At this time, we'll stand for the invocation by Vice Chair Clark and the Pledge of Allegiance.
Let us bow our heads. Our Heavenly Father, we come this morning just as humble as we know how. Dear God, we thanking you that you touch us, shook us, but whatever you did, you woke us up this morning. Father God, we thank you for bringing us safe to our destination and pray that you will carry us back safe again. We ask that you bless all that sit around this table, trying to make the best thing happen for Jasper County. These and other blessings we ask in your Son, Jesus Christ's name. Let everybody say amen.
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 I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right. Thank you.
Yes, sir.
We'll go ahead and dive right in. I appreciate everybody being here today, especially all the work that our staff has put into the agenda and all the information that goes into this workshop is a lot. So thank you, Andy and Kim and Danny and Wanda and David and everybody else involved. So we'll go ahead and Mr. Fulton, I'll turn this over to you. We'll go start out as the agenda list, Parks and Rec.
Yes, sir. First of all, good morning. I've been scattered and trying to hook up everything, so thank you for doing this and taking your time. It's helpful for staff, as you know. You know our style. We've got Mr. Lucas here. We've got Ms. Burgess here. Chief Wells will be coming by around lunchtime. And if there's anything you need from us along the way, as we go through this, or you want a copy of something, please just let me know, and I'll make a note, and we'll get that information to you. Mr. Chairman, the first list is a discussion of ordinances, and we have a number of them listed there in bullet comments. And the very first 1, 2, 3, I guess 4 of them, 5 of them, we have at least touched on or discussed with you in prior meetings. And those are in the works. Those are things that we're going to be working on. The Parks and Rec Commission, you all fairly recently passed an ordinance establishing the Parks and Rec Commission. We know we need to get that going. I believe the appointments require that the county council each produce a member for that, and then we will get that started. That falls under Mr. Lucas's division, and unfortunately, as you know, our Parks and Rec director is moving on, so we're hopeful we'll fill that spot and get that started as soon as we can. Probably need to take a little time to get everybody settled before we make those appointments and get that moving. But we are ready to get that going.
Andy, not to get too far off topic with that, but one of the things that I have a concern of mine is making sure that we're taking full advantage of the social media outlet for job announcements. And I think it might be beneficial for all the council at some point, whether it's through email or pure discussion on the county's like Facebook page, Instagram, where we can make sure that we're following it and liking and sharing those ads. A lot of other municipalities and county governments are doing that. So I think that would be helpful too when we have these positions like that. We can like it and share it and make sure. I know you can boost the ads, and I'm not 100% sure if we're doing some of those things or not, but I would just want to kind of refresh that, effort and make sure we're taking full advantage of it, because I know there's a good bit of people looking for jobs now.
That's right, and you're probably very familiar with this. LinkedIn is very popular among colleagues, and so that's where we really need to get it out. And I believe what we're doing now is, from time to time, we're posting things on our individual accounts for LinkedIn. But I think it's time that we get a county LinkedIn page and start pushing out some information, because that's where, as you said, the job shoppers are looking.
Yeah, and Instagram and Facebook too. Facebook's obviously the most popular, but I just want to make sure we're doing locally to spread that word. Because I'd like to hire local people if at all possible. So.
Along those lines, for some time now, we have been in the process of gearing up for a master plan for Parks and Recreation. We've never had one for the county. You may recall we've done a master plan for Sergeant Jasper Park, but never for all of our facilities. And that has been budgeted. You all were gracious in allowing us to do that. A request for proposals has been created and sent out. We have a review team of Mr. Lucas, Ms. Burgess, and myself, and the Recreation Director to review those and bring those to you. And we hope to be able to bring a recommendation to you at your February 5th meeting. And we're excited about that because it'll be a proposal that would include a lot of community input and give you some direction about what our priorities to be from Jasper County, so that we can, we have more things to fix and spend on, and we can say grace over. But if we have some direction and a plan, not only be good for us, but it would be fantastic for this newly formed Parks and Rec Commission. So we look forward to that.
One item on the Parks and Rec is the JYRB fields. I actually talked with a couple of the board members yesterday about that. I played on it when I was a kid, so it's been around for a while. Several hundred children participate, from very little kids in kindergarten all the way up to almost high school. It's a great opportunity for the kids to learn about sports and discipline and build character, and playing in those baseball games keeps them out of trouble. Practicing in the afternoons, being with their coaches, learning life skills. But I'd like to see some effort to coordinate some upgrades, the field bleachers. I believe if they had that yellow corrugated top of the fence, that would allow them to host some tournaments, which would also help bring in families eating dinner here and spending the night in the hotel. But just creating a much more well-designed recreational facility, because we have kids from the south end of the county, north end, really all around, and from everywhere around the county. They come and look forward to it, and it's made up of volunteers, the coaching staff. They do a lot of their own maintenance and things, but we need to make that a priority to see what we can do to come up with a kind of a little master plan in itself. Because now that the school district has removed the old school building and has done a magnificent job there with the landscaping and the design, I think if we can continue that momentum back to where that field is, that would only enhance the entire campus there as well. So,
Mr. Lucas, we can probably include the JRY meetings in the focus groups.
Yes, sir.
Good.
Mr. Chairman, I over-prepared for this, so I've got, as a reminder, here is a copy of the ordinance that tells you how to appoint and what you're supposed to do as a reminder, so you don't go home empty-handed tonight.
and what is that?
This is the copy of the ordinance to remind you of how you, the appointment procedure for the people there.
The Parks and Rec.
Parks and Rec.
Oh.
Parks and Rec. Just as a reminder, there's a page or two in there that talks about the terms, and each of you select somebody from your own district, and then you have to select two from
At large.
At large. Just as a reminder.
So that would be seven
Member
member board?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And when is this due by?
Whenever y'all are ready to make your appointments.
Whenever you're ready, and let me just ask Mr. Lucas, I know we've got the plan coming for a recommendation to council on Monday. Assuming they engage someone, how do you see that going with the plan and the simultaneous appointment of the commission? Will that be beneficial for them to be part of that, or do you think that, what's the timeline for that thing to be completed?
Just a few months down the road, we would envision the commission as a focus group separately. Now, everybody, of course, would be invited to be a stakeholder, but we have these separate focus groups, and we invite the commission to be a separate focus group to look at the overall effort.
And Danny, if you need some contact names,
I do.
I'll be glad to give you a couple. Okay. Thank you. All right.
Thank you. Okay, Mr. Chairman, the next one is personnel policy. We've talked about this, but we have a draft personnel policy. Unfortunately, due to some litigation, every now and then we have to tweak it. But we will be advancing that to you this year, and we may need to have a workshop on it and go through it. But it has been a long time since we've done a total rehaul of that thing.
And everybody's put a lot of work into it, so we're proud of that, and we'll bring that to you. Just wanted to let you know that's something that'll be coming to you.
Andy, as far as like personnel evaluations, are we keeping up with department heads evaluating their people, and you evaluating the department heads and all that?
Yes, sir. It's
It's tough work, but we do it in I think the April time frame, and yes, sir, we are doing that. The
is the standard operating
procedures for the detention center. You may recall that we've had a series of inspections at the detention center, as have the other counties around us, and Department of Corrections is asking us to ramp up and fix some things, try to get back to some standards. And one of those items that we were gigged on was, again, our standard operating procedures that were out of date. And so we researched that, found a firm, came to you, you approved hiring them, and they're just about finishing up all of the standard operating procedures for the staff. And we've had an internal discussion. We've got that. As you know, from time to time, we have emergency services, standard operating procedures, and all those things. And unfortunately, I know you probably don't want to get too involved in it, but we do think it's important, especially for litigation purposes, to have that presented to you, to allow you to ask questions about it, to tweak it, and to officially adopt these things by ordinance. So they're, I think by ordinance, but in some fashion. So they are going to be coming to you as we do them, but we do know the detention center policies will be coming first. And then the, come on in, have a seat. We got some breakfast here. We have, the next one is procurement, and that's the procurement policy. Again, it's dated. The amounts and authorities are dated, and some of it just doesn't match the flow of work that we're doing now, our business level. So I know Ms. Burgess doesn't want to, but she is committed to a rewrite of that. And so we'll be, again, that's something that you probably will have, want to have some input on and understand how we're doing it, and give us some direction on dollar amounts and authorities and so forth. So that will be coming to you this year as well. And then the final one I'll talk about is the tax collection agreement. We've got that started, gosh, year and a half ago, something like that?
2020.
Okay, 2020, my goodness. And we had some back and forth with the auditor and then auditor and treasurer, and also the city of Hardeeville and the town of Ridgeland, but we'll revive that old file, look at the draft, look at the comments that we received from them. But basically, we need to have some sort of agreement if we're going to collect the taxes for the municipalities. We need to have an agreement in place, and they need that too. They need the protection of knowing, when we will provide the assessment information, certain dates certain, so that they are not hanging. They know what service they're getting as well. So again, that'll be something that we don't know the day of the month yet, but we will. When we can get that together, that'll be something that'll be coming to you in 2024. So you've got 4 pretty hefty lifts of things that'll be coming to you as far as ordinances in 2024 that I know of. The rest of the ordinances are really requests from council members about ordinances that we have on the books and changing them, eliminating them. And so I think Mr. Tedder has been involved in that, and he can probably walk you through these, just give you the sum and summary of what the issues are, how difficult or complex they are to fix, and get some input from you about what your priority is here in changing these or not. David, the first one to tee up is the council administration.
Yes.
As you know, that ordinance governs the election of officers and how you do your business and so forth. And so there have been some suggestions brought to Mr. Tedder about some suggestions to make some amendments to that. And we'll let him walk through those. David, you need some help passing something out?
A month or so ago, Mr. Kemp provided you all with a folder of suggested changes out there. And I think this is it here. See where numerous things that are asked. That's wrong file. Okay, I know I got some of the right ones here. I'm looking for one tab.
Oh, okay.
So what Mr. Kemp had suggested as far as council administration was changing some substantive stuff, changing chairman to chairperson, things like that that are not really substantive. Some of the substantive things that he had asked for were dealing with appointing the duties of the chairman, the election of the vice chairman, the election of the chairman pro tempore, in case the vice chair and the chairman were out, vacant, or unable to serve, and had made some changes in there, or suggested changes to you. I have reviewed some of those, and some of them have some merit to them. And looking at it, I did have the opportunity to go around and look at neighboring counties and other counties our size to see how they handle things regarding matters out there that we're looking at. So one of the things that I am prepared to bring forward to you is my recommendations, which are to take the duties of the compensation of the chairperson sections and reorder it so that you actually basically have how you do the chairman, how you do the vice chairman, how you do this, then their duties, and then your compensation, which the compensation was set out in the ordinance a long, long time ago, but has been changed by budget ordinance from time to time. One of the main questions, and I'll just dive in on that one, is some counties, and I'll tell you Beaufort County does this, and just recently did it again, reiterated, is when cost of living increases are given to the entire staff, they're given to the elected officials and appointed officials that, you know, the treasurer, the things like that, and the county council members are given the cost of living, but with the caveat that they don't get the beginning date is the January after there's been at least 2 council members, so you only do it every 2 years because you can't vote for yourself to raise your salary during your term of office or during that term of council. So most counties do that because it keeps the erosion of your base pay, if you will, out there. What Mr. Kemp had suggested in his version of that was that we set forth on the council your current salary that we have out there, which is $14,000 and change. Excuse me, $16,000 and change, $16,463 per annum, and that the chairman get an additional $1,000 a year. Those are just arbitrary numbers, the additional in through there. The old ordinance had a different setup with that. So that's a decisional point I'll be bringing forward to you if you want me to take that approach.
Mr. Chairman, may I hear, you all remember David drafted an ordinance that it did not include county council, David, the ordinance you drafted, but did include magistrates and appointed officials.
That's a different ordinance that I'll discuss differently. This is just the administrative section that had to do with how do you run the council? How do you pay the council? And those things. For example, he had suggested that in the event that the vice chair or the chair weren't able to be at a meeting, that leaves 3 potential members that will be there to have a quorum. Who runs the meeting? His suggestion was the most senior meeting member there is times of term of service. The problem with that is we have some members that were elected in the same election cycle, so how do you figure out who was the most senior? I looked at Robert's Rules of Order, I've looked at others, and in general what happens is the remaining members elect somebody to run the meeting, right? Who will serve until the other people come back. So that's kind of what I had proposed in through there.
So, David, you're suggesting the salary issue not be glommed on with the other ordinance?
No, it's
put in here.
the council member salaries separate in this section, and then add in another section which we discussed a couple of years ago. We were looking at it of putting together for all the elected officials, treasurer, auditor, and appointed officials, treasurer, auditor, probate judge, clerk of court, I know
Magistrates?
yeah, all those guys have what their salary is there, so that you know, they know when they run for office what their salary will be. And we have drafted that up and have it ready for you to look at, and it includes the cost of living just like everybody else. It talks about when it goes into effect and those types of things if it goes county-wide. It doesn't prohibit you from raising the salary for somebody if you want to. The most important thing that we talked about a couple of years ago, but we never got resolution on, was whether you wanted to have an automatic increase for years of service in office. So if you were elected for a 4-year term, let's take the sheriff for instance. You elect the sheriff. Sheriff serves 4 years. Does he get anything over and above if he's reelected for his years in service as you move forward to a maximum, or do you just do it upon his request or your own motion? It can be done either way. I just don't know what the council wants to do out there.
Kim, what would be the, from an accounting standpoint, and just, I'll like to keep things simple and easy and not complicate things, what, do you have any input on what it is?
As far as accounting for the
If
increases every 2 years?
Right, I looked at Newberry. Newberry has been, most everybody copies Newberry's ordinances on elected officials. In fact, Beaufort County, they just did this for they're elected and appointed officials, not the county council. Just in December, they upped their salaries to reflect what they really ought to be, because they had done it by budget ordinance, but they hadn't changed the actual codified version, so they changed that around. My language that I did 2 years ago is almost exactly the same in certain instances as that of Beaufort County, which I'm pretty sure all came from Newberry. Jay Tofficer did that together. But what they had suggested in Newberry was they have a minimum and a maximum salary, and you start off at the minimum salary and you work your way up to the maximum salary. If somebody else comes in who doesn't have 20 years experience, they don't get the benefit of the sheriff that has 20 years of experience up there. They drop back to the minimum salary plus all of the cost of living increases that came along the line, so that the base salary is what the base salary would be for current dollars. That's one approach. It gets to be pretty complex when you start looking at it.
That's sort of what we do for all employees right now. We have those classifications, and they have a minimum, and then they have a mid and a max. So it's a similar process. It would just be for elected officials, and appointed officials.
So back to this ordinance, the real key decision points they've got to think about are, well, first of all, we have to update your salaries. That's not something you want to do. I mean,
We could work with our consultant and get comparables and give you some ranges, but they've got to be increased. They haven't been increased in a while.
I can tell you, I'm gonna vote no to increasing my salary, because I just feel we're doing that. I don't think. I mean, everybody's got their own opinion, and they can vote however they want, but I'm not voting in favor of increasing my salary.
Well, that's one item we need to bring to you as part of that.
The other one is, David, the decision point about if the chair and the vice chair aren't here, that's very seldom. I mean,
Do you want me to follow the Robert's rules?
Yeah, I think that's what we do anyway.
and you may recall, practically, we've had some instances where we've had council members who didn't want to run a meeting. You know, they may have had 6 or 8 years on the council and just didn't want to do that. So I don't know that you want to force somebody into that.
Yeah.
Another decisional point, when I started looking at it, one of the current ordinance has in there that the chairperson or chairman, chairwoman has a list of very specific duties, right? Deport the time necessary to attend and participate on the County Development Board, which we don't have anymore. It's now the Southern Carolina Alliance. Participate and report on meetings of the County Planning Commission, participate in the Water Authority. Those specific ideas there. When this ordinance was written, it was written in 1995, the last time that it was amended. Since then we'll get it a different place. The Water Authority, by statute, we changed our deal with water. There's an appointment process. We appoint from Jasper County and Hardyville, they appoint members to the joint board out there. So the question is, do we even really need that in this part here?
Who's our appointee? Did you say we have our appointee for the Beaufort Jasper?
We make recommendations to the legislative delegation to make appointments to the board itself?
I don't believe we make recommendations. I think they just do it.
Yeah.
I don't know if they're supposed to.
I think the senators appoint you for Jasper.
Right now, it's
I believe
Thayer
that-
Rivers, Jimmy Baker.
I believe the town, for some reason, has that ability. I think the town recommends somebody just by virtue of.
Yeah, I didn't know. I don't think Ken does.
But the county-
John Kemp goes to those meetings. And
Yes.
keeps up with it.
But you can see how, you
I know
know,
Barbara does the COG and the Association of Counties thing.
but as soon as you list those specific duties and where they're going, those organizations change and everything changes, so you gotta change the ordinance, so. You have to update it from time to time, I guess.
We need another person to call too.
Well, Barbara,
Need another person to call.
who's going off? Harry? Who's Harry?
No. We need one from the county, another one's gonna be 2, 3. How many, Danny? 3?
Yes, ma'am.
We need to appoint one more person to the COG board to represent Jasper.
Yeah, because of the increase in populations, we're adding additional members
Okay.
of the board.
Are there requirements for that position? Is it a business interest, or is it a council member, or is it a citizen?
I don't recall the specifics. It would appear to be just an at-large situation, but I don't hold me to that because I don't recall the specifics.
I'm making a note, we'll have to go through that and find that out.
Yeah, thank
I
you
will
for
get you
telling
the
us.
answers though.
What I'm trying to get at is, we have a bunch of boards out there. And generally, the practice has been, in my observation, that the council confers and they make appointments to some of these boards out there.
Right.
That's one function out there. Notwithstanding whoever the appointment may be out there, most county council chairmen can attend any meeting that they want to because they're the representative of the county council. So I don't know if we really need to restate that. We can say the council the chairman can appear at any meeting that he wants to, or appoint somebody to go to a meeting with a specific agenda item that they want to speak to. The reason I say that is we also have citizen participatory boards, right, who make decisions that are supposed to be somewhat independent. Zoning Board of Appeals, Planning Commission, I could probably name a few others, where we appoint citizens to give us their advice. Some jurisdictions, by either policy or ordinance, say, hey, you can welcome to attend any meeting, but you're not representing the council. You shouldn't speak at those meetings except if the council has directed you to speak on a specific matter, unless the matter that you're discussing involves you personally.
Mm-hmm.
Right? That's just a matter of separation of power, because a council member sitting in a citizens committee has more weight than the other citizens. I just throw that out there as a matter of best management practice to think out there, whether you want to clarify by policy or otherwise that, hey, if everybody wants to go to a meeting, go to the meeting, but don't you can have the unintended effect of taking over the meeting and chilling some of the effects of the discussion by the members.
You
That's
gonna
just
make
a thought.
specific recommendations for us to take action on later then?
Yes, that's what I'm telling you, the things that I've considered.
I like
I
to
just
keep
didn't
things
think I hadn't
simple.
been doing this. I've worked on drafts that have decisional points in them, but there were so many questions. I didn't know what the flavor of council was going to be when I brought them up, so I don't know whether to move forward on those.
We're all the way down to animal control, right?
Yeah, I think that if you want to see today, or I'll give it to you at a later time, this would be the elected and appointed officials ordinance with the current salaries that we're paying now to all the people listed in there, so you can see where we're at. That's how much we pay the probate judge, the magistrate, et cetera, et cetera. If you want this material, and I threw in there just for comparison the December 2023 ordinance of Beaufort County, so you can see how they kind of flow together.
David, wouldn't this take place when we're voting on the budget though? Salary increases, or I mean,
It would make it, you're still going to vote on the budget.
Right.
But you would already know what the figure is that you're going to put in there
for salaries.
for salaries for those appointed and elected officials.
Okay.
All right.
And that's what this is, a recommendation for those amounts?
No, it's what we actually pay right now.
Oh, yeah.
It's actually pay right now. It's not backing up, not moving
Gotcha.
forward. It's what there. Andy, you want me to go ahead and give this out, or you want me to?
So if you want it.
Just hold on to it because that, for me, I mean,
Okay.
they might want it, but I'd rather just get it when we're going into budget stuff.
Okay, okay.
I mean,
And I just,
We're not gonna make any decisions now. That action will actually take place when we pass the budget.
No, sir, the salary will be in the budget, so it doesn't matter the time, you need to do both, but it doesn't matter when you do either one of them. Just as long as it's in the budget. So, there are a couple ways you can do this. You can workshop it, you can pass this stuff out ahead of time, or we can just present to you a draft of what we're thinking to talk through at a council meeting with the backup of the other examples. You can do that as well, whichever you prefer.
yeah.
Well,
One
it
of the
might be
things we
more
do need to
beneficial
do-
to do it that way, because then we'll have John and Alvin here too to be a part of it.
So maybe, David, maybe we do like a mini workshop before a meeting and talk through one. Okay.
So that takes care of council administration and elected and appointed official salaries. Animal control. Animal control is always a hot spot in Jasper County because we have such a hunting dog population. You may recall that in not too distant past, we were looking at trying to do something with our animal shelter upgraded, move forward. We were talking with Beaufort County about the potential of a joint operation, and there's I'll just call it a precondition, if you will, for us doing that, and that is to make our ordinances almost the same as Beaufort County's when it comes down to dangerous dogs, other things like that, the tethering requirements, which have to do with the weight of a chain on a dog and its dog's weight, and other abusive. Judge Carter has been instrumental in trying to make some changes and has worked on that. I know Beaufort County is reworking a part of their ordinance now to tweak a little bit. I've talked to their attorney that's working on that. That should be moving forward in the next short period of time. But the question is, are you willing to try and attempt to get as close as we can to Beaufort County as a draft and see where that would take us? Our ordinance right now is very, very short.
I'd like to look at whatever the differences are going to be, have them in a bullet point list, highlight them, say, hey, these are the differences between what we have and what we're proposing, and just to make sure, because Beaufort County has it doesn't mean it's right for Jasper.
I've been working toward that. This is the Beaufort County ordinance. This is the Jasper County ordinance. These are some suggested changes.
Gotcha.
So you can look to see what the differences are. But last time we did this, it got hung up on
Pit bulls.
Pit bulls.
How will we go? How's the process going with the animal shelter?
We're looking along, trying to get them additional resources. Tisha's trying to set up a meeting today with them, actually, it's a progress meeting. We've had some great support from outside agencies trying to help. And as we muddle along, try to get things better where we are. As you know, we're also exploring the other avenue of patchwork from Beaufort County. And
How's that?
it's, I think, fine. This is one of the big issues we're going to get through is the ordinance. It may not be popular with some of your constituents, but we need to go through that. It is also what John is requesting as well. So both of the groups that potentially could handle that function for you are both leaning towards a new ordinance.
Okay.
We don't have a whole lot of choice, but maybe we could, like you said, you could try to
Just
mitigate the damages and go through.
make sure we understand what we voting on.
And it's going to require a whole lot of support from the sheriff, obviously, who does the animal control. So we need.
And I think they got a new van recently, didn't they, for animal control? Got a new van, and we got one or two officers.
We have two.
Two, yeah. Okay.
One of the issues I lived through in Beaufort County with this assisting some of the municipalities over there years ago was the county, municipalities are in the county. And dogs don't know where the city boundary is, the county boundary is, so they run there. So they're trying to get the municipalities to adopt substantially the same requirements since the county provides services to the cities for animal control. That's just another dimension of things that we'll have to work through when we get there.
Okay then. Noise and nuisance.
The noise ordinance, we have one. It basically says you can't have more than 70 or 60 decibels measured by scientific device, decimeter I think they call it, And there's hour limitations on that. That's very similar to some other jurisdictions. Noise has been a litigated matter. Beaufort City went through this for a number of years ago, and that's why they have the specific standards in there. We have that. There was an issue at Smith's Crossing, as y'all recall, I don't know, 4 or 5 months ago, with what turned out to be a non-permitted use out there, causing concerts and stuff at night. So the questions are basically, are our noise levels correct? And you can do it one or two ways. You can see what everybody else does to see what's there, or you can hire somebody that knows about noise to tell you how much, how many decibels a lawnmower is, how many is a concrete batch machine, those types of things. Our ordinance has exemptions for manufacturing and other stuff like that. The most sophisticated noise ordinance that I know of is Horry County. Horry County has a very in-depth noise ordinance because they have the motorcycle weeks up there. They have the festivals up there. They have all the stuff that goes on with the tourism thing. They have, our decibel levels are almost the same as theirs. They also include, as part of their noise ordinance, right next to it, special events, so that if you have a week-long festival somewhere, it doesn't overly, it includes specifications to keep the neighbors down. I don't know how far y'all want me to go with this and how interested you are. We got rid of the Smith's Crossing problem because we sent enforcement out there and said you can't do this. You're not permitted to have this type of operation.
David, do you recommend any certain parts of the ordinance that we need to focus on specifically?
I think
is there what's broke?
Something that has come up before is sand mines. They have to run
what?
Sand mines. They have to run the dewatering systems with the diesel. And most of them want to use diesel because they're out in the woods and they don't have electricity. But I have been through. I know Bluffton had an issue a long time ago with Al Ulmer's operation near downtown, and they went to and required electric pumps because if they're running all night long, noise carries at night. Very different. So I think we need to perhaps look at tweaks, but not a wholesale rewrite of it, to see if there's some, if we want to look at some specific uses and change the hours of operation of noises down a little bit. I don't know. I'm waiting on Horry County is also rewriting their noise ordinance right now.
All right, well, we'll take that under advisement and kind of work through that process.
The good news is I don't think there's any pressing matter right now that we know about unless you know of something.
Yeah, I'm going to tell you right now, Hughesburg, I get calls from them constantly.
What's going on in Purisburg?
They have these races on Sunday and these big soccer games, and cars are all on the road. People can hardly get down that highway. And Louise Michael and them have been calling constantly about that.
Is that in the county or the city, Barbara?
County.
That sounds like a traffic enforcement type thing to me, or the sheriff needs to go pay them a visit to say, hey.
But they have these soccer games, so evidently I think it's Mexicans that are doing it. And they say it'd be jam-packed and there'd be so many of them coming in, they can't get home because they got to wait way back there in the line to try and get past. You know where the Michael stayed? Louise Michael is on that road.
That sounds like a job for the sheriff.
I don't know, because they keep saying they're going to come and talk. I don't know whether any of you received any calls from them.
Actually, it's been quiet lately, but I would say about 2 years ago, I used to get calls, and I think it was that they would just pop up on a Saturday, and no one would know about them, and they would overwhelm the area to include food trucks and everything else.
Yeah, that's what she said. Talked to her about 2 weeks ago.
And we know, just so you know, as part of the recreation thing, we know it's a real need. It's a nuisance to residents, but obviously there's a need for them to recreate, right? So we know, and I think are weighing heavily in our scoring of the Parks and Rec Master Plan proposals,
firms who really look at that inclusiveness and look at the whole county and not just listening to certain areas or listening to what we think, but listening overall and making sure that we have equity in the plan that's adopted, right? And so we know that the Hispanic Latino community is going to have to play a big part in that rec plan. So that's the long-term answer. Short-term answer is you're right. It's just an enforcement issue to try to pump up. We've sent Lisa Wagner went out on a Saturday to try to see if it was zoning compliant, all that kind of thing. We didn't see any reason that they couldn't do it. It just is almost. It's almost like it's a needing an event permit or something just to embrace the community that is coming. So.
That's one of the things.
Okay.
It's just like on the dogs. The sheriff's department needs to be involved when we look at these things because they're their
Enforcement.
Yeah,
I agree.
We need to make sure they can do what we're asking them to do.
Right, I agree. All right,
I agree, I just wanted to bring it up.
good point, Barbara. Board of Assessment Appeals.
You may recall that last year, at the middle of last year, Mr. Kent had asked for the Board of Assessment Appeals be reconstituted because they changed the name. It used to be known as something different and wanted to increase the number of members on them. I looked at it. I talked to the assessor. I researched the statute. The state changed the name a while back, and as part of the taxpayer Bill of Rights, if you will, they moved most of this stuff over to the administrative law courts. So that we do have a need for Board of Assessment Appeals. Some of the functions were moved to the AOJ. This past year, which was the reassessment year, there were this many appeals, 0. All right? Everything was resolved on the staff level without the Board of Assessments having to be there. So Susan Waite believes there's really no need to change the number out there. But I, in my research, ran across a concept that I think will serve you well as we grow and will take us up there. And that is that in a reassessment year, at the request of the assessor or on county councils on motion, they can make a temporary appointment of 2 additional members to assist with any backlog that there might be. And they would just serve for a short period of time. They have to have the proper training because all the Board of Assessors have to be trained, members have to be trained, and it provides for a lesser quorum. If you don't have a full board, you can have a board of 3, but the decision has to be unanimous. So I've drafted up things that change things around, change the name, recognize that our old ordinance had tried to track the old state statute of who did what and what you're supposed to do. That's all about state statute that's been changed in the Taxpayer Bill of Rights. So I've gleaned it down. It's ready to come forward. I just want to determine, do you want 5 members, you want 7 members?
If we can you go back to the point of where we are now? We have not used the assessment board appeal in how many years?
The last time I remember, because I get brought into those because generally they want to make sure they do them right, it was probably 4 years ago we had one that was out there.
I just want you to be aware of that. The proposal is to make a board of 5 to 7 members that has not met in several years. So
I have the ordinance ready whenever y'all want to take it up, if you'll give me that direction.
Well, I don't think it hurt anything to try to appoint a board or get people to, have those names ready. If they're willing to serve, just have it where if it ever is a need, we got these people on here, we can call them and rally the troops.
What this one does, it just changes the name, confirms the number, allows for the additional if you need them down the line, and follows some of the recommendations, some of the provisions of other things that say, hey, we're trying to get professionals to help out.
and there's a minor cost when we pay them annually.
I think it's like
If
$100
they
in
need
budget.
Okay.
something.
Okay, well that was.
All right.
Thanks for you.
And the criteria is business owner in Jasper County, or is it a resident of Jasper County, or what is the?
You mean the qualifications for membership?
Yeah.
What I have put in there is we shall try it. Every effort should be made to fill these positions as to geographical residence, professional background, by way of example, attorneys, licensed real estate agents, certified real estate appraisers, bankers, etc. Those are the type of people that would be familiar with these processes out there.
Okay.
And there is a $500 annual stipend.
Okay. All right. Thank you, David. Allendale Hampton Jasper Commission on Alcohol and Drug Abuse.
One of the things Mr. Kemp identified was he thought there were some agencies out there that were defunct and no longer needed. He is right to several of them. And as to this one, when you get down to it, the state, as part of the local government fund, cuts out some money that's supposed to be used for alcohol and drug abuse education in the county. Has, in years past, worked with Hampton, Allendale in a joint effort. There's other money that we get too. It's called a mini bottle, which we no longer have it. That's what it came about. It funds these. New Life Center is our current.
But they still call it mini bottle. When they send
do,
money in, they still call it
but the New Life Center has been acting and has been receiving, as part of our budget ordinance, money allocated to them for the services of their certified DHEC agency. They provide services in Hampton and Allendale, just like the old Hampton, Allendale, Jasper Commission on Alcohol and Drug Abuse. It just doesn't operate as a, quote, commission. It's appointed by us. So my suggestion, and I looked at other counties to see what they do, ours is multi-county. I think we just need to get on the horn with Hampton and Allendale, make sure we're all in the same boat. But we can appoint, just change this ordinance around to appoint from time to time an agency to work with these funds to be allocated. I was looking at York County. York County does it. They just did theirs in 2023. They put a number in there just like the budget ordinance does for them to work. Do that. If New Life goes away, you can choose somebody else by resolution from time to time. I can fix that up, and that's basically, I just want to let you know that there is a body out there. It's just no longer called the Hampton, Allendale, Jasper County Commission on Drug Abuse.
Thank you. Okay, JC Rural Water System Board.
Many, many years ago, there was
I didn't even know that was a thing.
That was a thing. It's a very interesting history if you look back at what happened with the expansion of the water authority in Jasper County over the years and how it worked it out over the years. But in any event, there was a state statute that was passed when we became a formal part of the water system and sewer system that has the appointive powers, all those things laid out in the statute. So what I'm proposing to do on that is just to acknowledge that the section that we have has been supplanted by the state statute, look at the state statute for matters relating to water and sewer in unincorporated Jasper County.
All right. Any questions on that? Hearing none. Okay, and former Economic Development Alliance.
Years ago, Jasper County had a special agreement or contract, a intergovernmental agreement with Beaufort to do their own economic development. That was phased out, abolished, perhaps never codified, when the county went with the Southern Carolina Alliance. So this one is one of those, kind of like the old hospital commission, by other means, it's defunct and no longer needed, so I'll just delete that section and reserve it.
Gotcha. Okay. All right, well, we're a little ahead of schedule. Is Chief Wells available to come a little early, and maybe we can ask some of those, who else? I guess he's the only one.
Well, we do have some other guests, Mr. Chairman, I didn't mention, but we do have I believe Ms. Denise Grabowski is going to drop in a little later this afternoon and give you an update on the moratorium effort. We also have our auditors going to come in and review the audit with you, the annual audit this year with you. Both of those are a little flexible and probably coming in a little later this afternoon.
Okay, well, if it's possible for them to come a little early, that'd be great.
And we can skip to anything after
Sure.
what's on your agenda after the executive session too, if you'd like to, whichever you prefer.
Well, we do have an executive session. And I think Nicole may have the information that I wanted to discuss with council. I had asked her to see it. Bear with me 1 second.
Mr. Fulton, for our joint meeting that we're discussing, how many people are we looking at? Because the meeting room I just was offered is 25 total.
That's going to be tight. We'll allow the chairman to get through his business there, but we were trying to schedule multiple meetings, as you know.
That was on the 22nd at 1 o'clock. Yeah. Did we, we haven't found a venue for that.
Well, that's what I was just asking, but they're only offering me 25 seats.
And we did get we had the earlier date, but it conflicted with the municipalities and a conference. I did get an email, or at least Tisha did yesterday, from Mr. Averkin with the town originally. He's not going to be able to be at that meeting. He's got some sort of training in Columbia that day. But
For which date?
the 22nd. But so there's some options you could do. You could just have a meeting and invite them, and not have a joint meeting.
I really want to have a joint meeting just because I think it's past time. I'd like to have all three councils sit around the table.
How will you? It's just very
I'm sure
difficult.
Yeah, and I know not everybody's going to be able to make it. And,
You want to go ahead with the 22nd?
I hate for Dennis not to be there. How's the response been from everyone else?
Well, I think it's favorable. And the 22nd is really, we're trying to have Mr. Bice there, Carson Bice there. He's given us a couple dates, but that's the only day he.
Let's go with the 22nd at 1 o'clock.
And we can change up if it's, the agenda. We don't have to have everybody reporting out on what's going on. But I know you wanted to try to give, I think, an update on the moratorium to everybody, what you're doing. And I think that it would be important for everybody to see the impact fee presentation, whatever else you'd like to do.
Well, those two items I think will be enough.
Okay. All right, so we'll just do that.
Yeah.
And we won't put any.
Let them know what's
Yes.
the two agenda items.
Okay.
And we'll have a meeting at 1 and it'll be done by 2:30.
Thank you for that. I really appreciate that. It's just very hard for we got two ladies working on all these things, and then
Yeah.
it's a
And
lot of
that's on the
people.
22nd of February?
Yes, sir.
It's a lot of people to corral. So thank you.
Yeah.
Do we want to try to have it here since it's only going to be a couple hours then?
I mean, we can, I just.
You're talking about potentially if everyone showed up, there'd be 15 council members, and it could potentially have 5 staff members from each place too.
I mean, we'd all fit in here.
Can do it if you'd like.
I mean, I don't know what else, what's the
And we
alternative?
won't have 100% attendance anyways. I
Right.
think that's fine.
Or if y'all come up with another location, I don't care.
Yeah, because this guy said it's $375 for the meeting and the setup, but he can only hold 25 people.
Well, that ain't gonna work.
Yeah, so. I'll
We'll
think
just
you-
have it here unless somebody else has a better idea. I don't really care where it's at.
Sounds good. Thank you for that distraction, but that's very helpful.
Thank y'all very much. I can go ahead and start working on getting things set up then on my end. Is there anything in particular you'd like for lunch that day, Chairman's office?
Mr. Chairman, I have asked the chief to join us, and I know, like you said, you have an executive session, but under, I guess, number 4, on your second page of your agenda, those items too, we could just start and go through those if you'd like.
Let's do that.
Okay. The first one is Ms. Burgess, and she was going to report out a little bit on the ARPA funding and making sure we have your priorities, because we're going to talk about this in quite a while.